¡Viva México, perros! ¡Viva México, perros! To go to Brazil and defeat the Brazilian champion and then call the Brazilians perros, or not to go to Brazil, defeat the Brazilian champion and call the Brazilians perros. That is the question. But we got to look at the context here. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, and I talked about this before, and I'm not ashamed of it. I represent the Mexican martial arts, founder and grandmaster. That is true. That is factual. But I'm a Chicano, you know? And there's a thing about Chicanos. We could walk around sporting the Mexican martial arts, but yet not know a word of Spanish, you know? That's just how it goes. And all of you out there trying to judge me right now of European descent and whatnot, all the Irish and the Germans, and I don't know all the European places, all right? But all the people of European descent, are you going to be speaking German? Are you going to be speaking, I don't know, whatever places that you would speak from Europe? Nah, you speak English. And then you try to judge me when I don't speak the language of my homeland. People of European descent, people of Asian descent, most Asians speak the Asian language, I've learned. I don't know what it is about the Asians. They seem to be more loyal to the culture. But like people of European descent, people of African descent, I got a lot of German homies, or they're white boys, and they say, oh, my great grandfather or whatever was German. He don't speak German. I got black homies. They're not walking around. People don't know that kind of stuff, but then people want to judge me because I don't speak Spanish, calling me Tony Ferguson and everything. I know I probably bring it upon myself, repping the sweater and everything, and so they're probably expecting like a certain standard. I get that. All right, I respect that. But there's something you have to take into consideration right here with Viva Mexico, perros. It's not that straightforward. So look, I'm trying to make wrongs right now, okay? During the stream, during the Mexican Fight Companion, when I was talking about the post-fight interview with Brandon Moreno, I was like, oh, snap, because he got on the mic and he pulled the Colby Covington. And he called, people thought that he was calling the audience dogs and that it was very straightforward. He's basically calling them like filthy animals and stuff like that. I don't mean to be offensive to dogs. I know there's a lot of dogs that aren't necessarily filthy in regards to the general filthiness of dogs. That's not what this is about right now. Look, he called them perros. And when I talked about it on the stream, I was like, dang, that fool better run. That fool better go on the red eye tonight. And I was right. He was running out of there. They were throwing their Gatorades at him, their sodas, their elotes. They were going crazy. They were throwing everything at him. They were very upset. And everybody, it was the same narrative at first. Even Henry Cejudo was on his Twitter like, oh, snap. He called them perros. And then they're like, what does that mean? That means like dirty dogs. And it was like, oh, man, that guy's crazy. He's running out of there like if he was Oliveira doing that funky run just to get out of the building. People were mad. But then people started giving more context. And this is context that I didn't have myself. This is context that I needed. I spoke too soon. And I'm not afraid to say that. A lot of people don't want to backtrack, I'm over here with the sound effect. I'm over here, beep, beep, beep. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid if I come incorrect the first time to come and make wrongs right. That's all right. That's what you're here for. You're here for the truth. And I got it straight. I got it straight from the fax machine right now. All right? I'm here to tell you how it really is because somebody had to lace me up. Okay, now I'm here to lace you up. When he called them perros, it was kind of along the line of saying like, hey, fools. Hey, Viva Mexico, fools. Viva Mexico, homies. Viva Mexico, dog. Now, there's been times when I was talking about like Khabib or whatever in the comment section, and I was like, hey, that fool this, that fool that, hey, that fool's the GOAT, that fool did this, and that fool and then I get people in the chat, and they're like, who are you calling? Why are you calling him a fool? He's not fool, brother. Don't dare call him fool. I'm like, hey, fool, it's not a bad thing to call a fool. It's like a term of endearment, fool. It's not like that, fool. Listen, from one fool to another. I was just trying to show love and respect, fool, to the fool in the video. And people are like, they're having like, they don't understand. It's like a breakdown. And it just depends on like the cultures and communities you come from and your vernacular and how you. So the bottom line, he was basically saying, hey, what's up? Long live Mexico, homies. Long live Mexico, dog. Now, was it a little bit tongue-in-cheek? Was it a little bit tongue-in-cheek because of the way that he ran out of there? And, you know, maybe he was having a little bit of fun with it. Maybe it was a technicality. Maybe he knew what he was doing. Maybe he was towing the line a little bit. Maybe he knew that he could get away with the context while still kind of saying something that he wanted to say. I don't know. I don't know if he has any reason to kind of have it in for Brazil. I don't know if he has any reason why he'd want to come tongue-in-cheek with it. I don't know. I just think it's a little bit funny the way that he ran out of there, like if he knew what he was doing. But at the same time, we're talking about the Lego master right here. Like if you know anything about Brandon Moreno, you know he's kind of, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but he's kind of a goofy dude. He's kind of a lighthearted, silly kind of guy. And that's why he's very lovable. So maybe he's the type of dude that when he's faced with confrontation and people are throwing their snacks at him, he's like, hey man, I was just playing. I don't want any drama. You know, he could look out. He could look out and hop into the crowd like Ron Artest or something. My bad. Metal World Peace or something like that, throwing jabs at the audience, but he doesn't get down like that. So there was a lot of miscommunication. And it was from the fans. It was from the fighters. It was from the commentators. A lot of people didn't know how to take it. But I'm here to tell you right now, for a lot of people thinking negatively of Brandon Moreno right now, a lot of people are turning about face on that fool. Because like I said, he's kind of like, to a lot of people, like the little darling of the MMA community, you know, aside from myself. Very lovable fighter and never like causing drama and being a negative fool and stuff like that. And people thought that maybe he kind of like had a heel turn right here. It's not like that. It's kind of like that one scene from, you know, that one Cheech and Chong movie where they crashed their van onto someone's lawn. And Chong kept telling those people a bad word. He's like, hey! And Cheech was like, hey, shut up, don't say that. But he meant it like a term of endearment. That's kind of what happened right here. It's not like that. So I'm over here. I'm trying to be the peacemaker right here. I'm trying to be that man in the middle. And I'm trying to let you know it's not like that. He didn't mean it. He wasn't calling them dirty, filthy animals and trying to show disrespect. Even though, you know, let's look at it this way. If you call someone something, and then afterwards they act like it, does that change anything? I don't know. I mean, does it change anything that like maybe let's look at the other side of it for a moment. Let's say he meant to call them like dogs, like you guys are animals. Like I already know how you guys get down. And they're like, well, hold up. Let us verify and confirm that for you by throwing all our belongings at you. I mean, did they shoot themselves in the chancla by doing that and proving his point? I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. Does that change anything? If somebody calls somebody something, and then the person that's called that something confirms it by doing that something, by carrying out the action that led to them being called to something in the first place, then can we get mad at the person that called them that something? Are you following along? Because it makes sense in my beanie. If he called them, you know, basically filthy animals, and then they started acting like that, was he right? Maybe that fool's a prophet. Can we be mad at something like that? Now, if they deny it with their actions and they're very civil, gentleman type of fools, and they're just like, that's not good, and they're shaking their heads, and they're like, you should be better than that. You got a lot of growing to do. Moreno would look like a bad dude. But because of what they did, does that change anything? You let me know. And then it was so bad that Glover had to go on there. He's like, everybody chill. Favela, chill. Don't throw any more snacks. I'm going to walk out with Jamal Hill and make sure that none of those shenanigans go on again. I'm going to protect him. I'm going to be his bodyguard. I'm going to walk out with him. I don't want nobody throwing anything. And at first I thought, man, they respect this fool. They didn't throw anything. And then, you know, as a lot of you have probably seen yourself and you've seen the memes and stuff, they showed the footage of the crowd. Nobody was there. It's like these fools were fighting in the Brazilian Apex. Nobody was there. It didn't make any sense. There's actually more fools at the Apex fight nights than we saw when they walked out. People were probably dipping by the third round or something like that. When Glover had reached, the status he had on his face, I think it was about the third round. It was already starting to go downhill from there. It was already starting to go down Jamal Hill as far as Glover was confirmed, and it wasn't looking good. They started dipping. They started getting ready for next year's soccer. They gave up. They left. This was retiring. It was his swan song. They couldn't even hang for this one. Now look, I'm not saying that the Brazilians are perros, or I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to come at you like that, but here's what I'm saying. If Moreno called the Brazilians perros, and they start saying like, no, we're not perros, we're not filthy animals, take this Gatorade, take this sandwich, take this popcorn, and then Glover, this dude that gave them like his blood, sweat, and tears since 2012, putting in the work. He's out here dying for them, not giving up, not throwing in the towel, not tapping out, not losing heart. His retirement, and everybody pretty much knows it's probably going to go in that direction. They can't even stay there for him. Now, I'm not one to go around calling fools perros, but before we start getting mad at Brandon Moreno, let's just look at the context of the situation. Let's call a perro. And then Jamal Hill started crying. He was weeping. And I was trying to show you on my stream because I can't show you the footage because I'll get a strike. It wasn't like Khabib. He wasn't just like, feeling emotional. He started weeping a little bit. That fool was sobbing. I never saw a man sob like that at a UFC event. And it was like, he was going like this. He was hugging his coach. And he was like, he got the shaky knees. He started going like this. And his coach lifted him up and he started going like this. He picked him up and he started going like this. That fool was falling. He was trying to go down to the canvas. He wasn't worried about cameras or nothing. And everyone was like, man, this fool's emotional. He really never thought he would make it, did he? But it wasn't about that. You know why he was crying? Because he thought the Brazilian fans were going to rush the cage. He thought he was dead. He wasn't crying because of happiness. It wasn't joy. He was afraid for his life. I'm not advocating to call anyone a perro. All right, but I ask you now. I'm turning it to you. If someone calls someone a perro and then they act like a perro, are they a perro? If a perro throws their Gatorade at a fighter at a UFC event and people hear it or people don't hear, wait. If a Brazilian falls down in the forest, hold up. I didn't think this through. If a fighter calls a Brazilian fan a perro and then they act like a perro within the context of what a perro would mean in that situation, is the Brazilian fan a perro? Now look, before you start trying to come after me for cultural appropriation, I have someone. Come here. Up. I have someone from the perro community right here because I know people are going to be saying that it's cultural appropriation for someone that's not a perro to ever call someone else a perro because perros should be able to speak for themselves. So look, hey, perro, look it. Hey, perro, look. Hey, are you okay if someone that's not a perro calls someone else a perro? Hey, is it okay if someone calls someone else a perro? Are you offended? Hey, up. Are you offended? Right here. Hey, are you offended if I call you a human? Are you offended if I call you a cat? No. Are you offended if I call you? Are you offended? Hey, up. Hey, up. Is it offensive for? Hey, is it ever offensive for a perro to be called a perro? Hey, up. Perro. Do you feel like you're kind of being a perro right now in front of my audience?